The DJ Duce Podcast. Stream now at djduce.com/podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the DJ Duce Podcast. I'm your host, DJ Duce. Welcome to a new episode. Today is October 25th. It is a Tuesday. I know I was going to do a podcast back in September, but caught the sniffle whiffles and whatnot, so didn't get a chance to do a podcast. So nonetheless, here we are. Put out two projects since the last time we spoke. AI remixes. That was an interesting project, stripping a lot of instrumentals with AI. So if you're into that kind of thing and you like remixes, you might want to check that out. Also, dropped the soundtrack of Freedom #2. Just dropped that last week. So if you're into freedom music like Bryson Gray, Tom McDonald, Anomaly, and whatnot, make sure to check out that project. It's a good tape. Soundtrack of Freedom 2, like I said, it's out everywhere. Today's episode, I want to talk based on something that's brought up to me quite often a lot. And normally when I do a podcast, I try to figure out what I want to do a podcast on. I try to get my notes together, get my topics straight, and get everything into more or less of a presentation. Actually had something lined up for this episode. We were going to talk about the climate change and whatnot, but I scrapped all that and wanted to do something different. And the question I get asked an awful lot to people who know me know that I'm pretty personal. I don't put out a lot of personal information about myself. It's just how I've always been. How did you lose all the weight? And for people who knew me for most of my life, always knew I was a bigger guy. I was always around 200 plus pounds and always the bigger guy. And up until about 2019, until I started the diet, always, like I said, always been a bigger guy, even through high school. So, and I get asked all the time, like, what did you do? How did you lose the weight? So I figured what better to talk about on a quick podcast episode than my journey and how I did that. And it really started when I was a kid. I had these, like I said, I had 6 surgeries. I had a Meckel's diverticulum when I was born, and that started giving me complications when I was about 12. So 12 years old, I got that taken care of, and I had a surgery on top of that surgery. So I went in for the Meckel's diverticulum, got that surgery, and within the same week in the hospital, because I was in the hospital for 2 weeks at the age of 12, so I was in there, got the Meckel's diverticulum taken care of, and then my bowel twisted. So had to go back into another surgery for that. Make a long story short, just that surgery in itself was about 2-week recovery in the hospital and about a 6-month recovery outside of the hospital, where I still have the scar to this day, and I had a little hole with fluid draining out of. So got all that taken care of, and fast forward through life, I want to say up until about 15 and 16 years old, I started getting stomach issues, stomach problems to the point where it would make me sick, would make me not feel well, would put me in bed for about 2 to 3 days on end at random times. Like, it could happen any day. I could be fine for a week, have a stomach issue, and then be sick for 2 to 3 days and not have an issue for a month or two, or vice versa. Have an issue and then in the next week have another issue. Very, very periodic and very random through, I want to say, about the time I was from 14 the whole way up until 2019, getting sick randomly. Couldn't figure out what was going on. So like anyone would do, I went to the doctor. The doctor couldn't figure it out what was wrong, which that's a whole other discussion another time, in the malpractice and the guessing of all the doctors and the things that they do in the medical field. Yeah, they were trying to do some wonky stuff to me, but so I went to the doctor. They couldn't figure out why I was getting sick randomly and whatnot, so they came up with 2 suggestions. Suggestion number 1, put some type of coating in my stomach to coat my stomach in hopes that whatever was causing the pain and the issues and the throwing up and the vomiting, that would stop. Option number 2, put you under sleep, under anesthesia, and put you under like a surgery type thing and put a scope down your throat to examine the lining of your stomach to see what is going on. And I've been under anesthesia, like I said, in 6 different surgeries by the time I was 12 years old. So didn't want to go that option. And I'm not a drug guy. I don't like pharmaceuticals, experimental pharmaceuticals. People know me. I don't do pharmaceuticals at all. So that was out of the question. So the only other option was to eventually lose the weight sometime or another, but 14, 15, 18, 19 years old, you really wasn't thinking about that. You weren't thinking about your health. You're just living life. And to the point and all that, I was just like, oh, I guess I'm just going to have to live with it, you know what I mean? And just deal with it as life goes on. But then 2019 comes by, and I always wanted to try something different in life. Just didn't know how to execute it, but I knew I wanted to do it. And then 2019, in the beginning, I said to myself, it's time. It's time, for something different. Let me try something different. Because everything I tried prior, going to the doctor, asking this person, doing this, it wasn't working. So what was the only thing that I didn't try that could possibly work? I'm like, well, you've been big your whole life. You've never been at the appropriate weight. You've never been at a healthy weight. So why don't you try something different? So I went on a diet, very hardcore diet, I guess you could say. A lot of people say when I tell them what the diet consists of, uh, I really was looking into gluten, and that's a whole nother podcast on itself. But the gluten played a main role into why I was getting sick, I believe, because I cut the gluten since 2019, lost all the weight, and I haven't been sick since. So it's 2022 now, so 3 years going on, and no issues whatsoever. All the vomiting, all the random gut pain, being sick in bed for 2 to 3 days, all disappeared by me switching up my diet and losing the weight. All went away. So, started the diet, got rid of the gluten. For the beginning of the diet and most of the diet, I want to say after a 7 month period, no sugar whatsoever, very little sugar, no carbs at all. Just went hardcore diet, water, water, water. That's all I drank. Fasted, and I still fast. I fast every Friday. At the time of the diet, I was fasting 2 times a week. I was fasting once in the beginning of the week and once in the last of the week. So Monday, I think, was my fast date mostly, and then Friday, every Friday, I was fasting. And 7 months, lost over 120 some pounds. And here I am to this day, 2022, still watching what I eat, staying away from the gluten, all the soy, all the trash, all the garbage that they put into our food. And everything's been fine. Everything's been good. No weight increase, no nothing like that, and everything's been working perfectly. So, like I try to tell people, you are what you eat, both physically and mentally. So if you're consuming nothing but trash, both physically and mentally, you're going to be trash. That's a perfect example of myself. I was consuming nothing but trash food, sugar food, gluten food, soy foods, processed foods, you name it, anything trash. I was consuming it for 19 years of my life, more or less. And then finally, I said enough, made a change, and the rest was history. I mean, not only am I looking better, feeling better physically, but I'm also thinking better mentally. You know what I mean? Mental clarity, thinking for what things are for what they are, not alluding to lies, not believing deception, not believing whatever the television tells me they want me to believe. That's that type of thing. Really thinking for yourself, drawing conclusions. So it definitely plays a part mentally too. So don't ever let anyone tell you that differently. That, oh, by losing weight, you're only benefiting your body. No, 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 no. You're benefiting your body both physically and you're benefiting it mentally, because mind over matter at the end of the day. What good is the tank without the driver, right? So, but yeah, doctors were telling me, couldn't tell me what was wrong, wanted me to go through experimental pharmaceutical coating injections and stuff into my stomach, and if that don't work, we could put you to sleep. And crazy, crazy. If you listen to these doctors and do what they want you to do, you more or less are your experiment. you're a rat, you're a lab rat, and you're at the presence and you're at the mercy of what they want to do to you. If you're in the middle of a surgery, something happens drastically in the middle of that surgery, well, guess what? They're not waking you up in the middle of the surgery and say, "Hey, excuse me, sir, we ran into this complication while we were trying to fix your heart. Would you like us to fix that?" No, they make an executive decision under whatever pretext, mind concept that they think that they're under control of while you're under, and it is what it is. Now you're experimenting on. You went in for a heart surgery, came out, now your leg's gone, and you don't know what happened. So be logic, be careful, be mindful, be fruitful when you go to these doctors and take them for their face advice. At the end of the day, the best advice I could give to anyone is your own doctor. Do your own research. You're your own friend and be your own friend, because no one is going to care for you more than you care for yourself. So take that into thought. But yeah, I mean, I could sit here all day and rant and try to preach and try to tell you, oh, you could do this and do that to want to do this, and you'll get that. But it all really starts with yourself. You got to want to change in yourself. You got to want to better your health. You got to want to better your mind. You got to want to better your train of thought. And that applies to all aspects of life. Weight, mental, the way you think, the things you think. When you wake up in the morning, what are you thinking about? And when someone does come along your path and tries to elude you and dilute you in your logical thoughts, you pick up. It ain't going to work no more. It becomes a joke, because you see right through the clown deception. The clown, it's all clown world at that point. So stay away from all the trash, man. You want to better your health? Get you some better food in your life. Stay away from the gluten. Don't eat the soy. Don't eat the trash. Don't eat the processed food. Don't eat the bioengineered chemicals that are now popping up in all foods, by the way. Bioengineered chemicals, bioengineered food ingredients are popping up in everything. Like, I got a box of Pop-Tarts in the basement from 2019 where on the box there is no bioengineered food ingredients, and now in 2022, you go look at a box of Pop-Tarts, bioengineered food ingredients. So pay attention to what you're eating, read what you're eating, and be mindful, because you could be eating poison. I keep a basic diet still. I don't eat gluten. I eat 6 things. I have the most boring diet in the world, I try to tell people. I eat steak, chicken, more steak, more chicken, maybe very rarely a carb. I might eat some macaroni here and there. I do like a pizza once and now and then, but other than that, and the things that I do eat, the pizza and the carbs, they got to be gluten-free. So I got to go the extra mile and spend the extra money to make sure that the food is clean and somewhat decent, so that I can maintain this diet and not put all this trash inside my body. It's like, it's a very, very, very hard fight. And the fight's only going to get harder as it goes. So, yeah, I mean, even if you think you are doing good, start searching, start researching, start looking at the things you're eating. You might find out that you're eating a lot more trash than you originally thought. But I think that does it for this podcast. We're going to wrap it up. Like I said, I could be here all day. But you want to lose some weight, you want to better your health, make changes in your life, make a decision. Start with yourself. Start being your own friend. That's the best advice I can give to anyone when it comes to losing weight. But until next episode, this is DJ Duce. Thanks for tuning in. DJDuce.com/podcast.